Edward Hopper, 1882 to 1967, master of silence and light. Edward Hopper was an American painter and printmaker, known for his haunting depictions of modern life in the United States. Born in the year 1882 in Nyack, New York, he developed a distinctive style characterized by clean lines, strong contrasts of light and shadow, and a profound atmosphere of solitude. His most famous painting, Nighthawks, 1942, portrays a nighttime scene in a diner with a few seemingly isolated patrons. The cold lighting and largely empty surroundings enhance the feeling of isolation, a central theme in Hopper's work. Many of his paintings, including Morning Sun, 1952, and Automat, 1927, depict individuals, often women, lost in contemplation. His works are marked by realism but also possess an almost cinematic quality, capturing everyday moments in a mysteriously evocative way. Hopper was strongly inspired by architecture and American landscapes. His depictions of gas stations, motels, and train stations convey a melancholic stillness, emphasizing the relationship between people and urban spaces. Although often described as a painter of loneliness, his works also reflect the beauty and poetry of simple life. His influence extends far beyond painting. Filmmakers like Alfred Hitchcock and David Lynch drew inspiration from Hopper's compositions and lighting. He passed away in the year 1967, leaving behind a timeless artistic legacy. Nighthawks. Nighthawks, from 1942, is one of Edward Hopper's most iconic paintings, and it masterfully captures a mood of isolation and alienation in an urban setting. The painting depicts a late-night scene in a diner, viewed from outside through large plate glass windows. The diner is brightly lit, creating a sharp contrast with the dark, empty streets around it. Inside, there are 4 figures, 3 patrons and a waiter, all of whom appear deep in thought or disconnected from one another. One of the patrons sits alone at the counter, while the other 2 are seated together. The scene conveys a sense of stillness and loneliness, despite the relatively small group of people present. The setting, an anonymous, modern American diner, emphasizes themes of urban isolation, where people seem physically close but emotionally distant. The lack of interaction between the figures and the empty, almost desolate streets outside further contributes to the feelings of alienation. Hopper's use of light and shadow plays a significant role in establishing the mood. The harsh, artificial light inside the diner contrasts with the cold, dark surroundings, creating a sense of detachment from the world outside. Nighthawks is a reflection on the solitude and emotional distance that can exist in modern society, capturing a fleeting, quiet moment in the everyday lives of its subjects. Its timeless quality continues to resonate with viewers, making it one of Hopper's most recognized and influential works. Morning Sun. Morning Sun, from 1952, is an impressive painting by Edward Hopper that conveys a sense of loneliness, reflection, and inner contemplation. At the center of the composition, a woman sits on a bed in a sparsely furnished room. She wears a simple, pink dress and is barefoot. Her body is slightly turned to the side as she gazes out of a large window to her right. Her face is illuminated by the bright morning sun, which creates sharp contrasts between light and shadow in the room. The scene appears both peaceful and melancholic. The woman seems deeply lost in thought, her gaze directed into the distance, yet her emotions remain ambiguous. The painting evokes a sense of isolation. She is alone in the room, with no signs of immediate interaction with the outside world. The clean lines of the architecture, the large window, and the minimalistic furnishings emphasize the starkness of her surroundings. Hopper's masterful use of light plays a crucial role in the painting's effect. The warm morning sunlight bathes the scene in a soft, golden glow, while the shadows create sharp contours that divide the composition into geometric shapes. This enhances the introspective atmosphere of the work and draws particular attention to the central motif, the contemplative woman. Morning Sun can be interpreted as a depiction of existential solitude, a theme present in many of Hopper's works. While the woman appears engrossed in the landscape, it remains unclear whether she longs for the world outside or is trapped in her own inner thoughts. This ambiguity, along with the interplay of light and shadow, gives the painting its profound emotional resonance.
Automat.
Automat is a painting by Edward Hopper from the year 1927, which impressively depicts the theme of isolation and alienation in modern life. At the center of the composition, a young woman sits alone at a small round table in a self-service restaurant, Automat. She wears an elegant mustard yellow coat with a fur collar and a fashionable hat, indicating that she is in a public setting. The woman holds a coffee cup in both hands, as if warming herself with it or absent-mindedly playing with it in deep thought. Her gaze is lowered, and her facial expression is contemplative and melancholic. She appears completely lost in her own world, unaware of her surroundings. A large window behind her reflects the dark exterior, yet the reflection provides no hint of other people or a bustling city. Instead, it reinforces the sense of loneliness, as the world outside the cafe seems empty and anonymous. The cool, artificial lighting inside the restaurant contrasts with the darkness outside, creating a quiet, almost oppressive atmosphere. Hopper employs clear lines and reduced details to focus the scene on its essentials. The Automat as a setting highlights the anonymity and impersonality of modern city life, a place where people eat quickly and alone, without social interaction. The color palette is subdued, with the dominant yellow tone of the coat standing out against the cooler blue and gray shades in the background. The painting conveys a timeless, emotional depth. It raises the question of whether the woman is alone by choice or if she feels lonely. Her posture, the interplay of light and shadow, and the empty surroundings reinforce the central theme of isolation. Automat is a striking example of Hopper's ability to create a strong emotional impact with minimalist means and to portray the existential solitude of modern life. Chop Suey. Chop Suey, painted in 1929, is one of Edward Hopper's most renowned works, capturing themes of urban life, social isolation, and fleeting moments of interaction. The scene is set inside a Chinese restaurant, where two women sit across from each other at a small table, engaged in quiet conversation. The woman in the foreground wears a bright green hat and a matching coat, which contrasts with the muted tones of the surroundings. Her companion, partially turned away from the viewer, is less distinct, making the woman in green the focal point of the composition. The restaurant's interior is bathed in artificial light, casting sharp shadows and emphasizing the geometric shapes of the furniture, walls, and windows. A large window in the background reveals a glimpse of the city outside, but rather than offering a lively view, it reflects more of the interior, reinforcing a sense of enclosure. The signage visible in the background, with Chinese characters, hints at the exotic yet familiar nature of these urban dining spaces in 1920s America. Despite the presence of multiple figures, the atmosphere of Chop Suey carries Hopper's signature theme of solitude within social settings. The figures are close together, yet there is a sense of detachment. Neither woman appears fully engaged, and the surrounding restaurant patrons, including a man and woman at another table, seem equally disconnected. This composition subtly conveys the emotional distance often felt even in the presence of others. Hopper's use of light is particularly striking in this work. The bright illumination from above highlights the woman's face and hands while casting other areas into shadow, creating a theatrical contrast that enhances the painting's mood. The bold color choices, especially the green and red tones, lend the image vibrancy, yet the overall feeling remains restrained and introspective. Chop Suey serves as a reflection of the evolving social culture of the early 20th century, depicting a moment of modern urban life where people coexist in shared spaces yet remain emotionally distant. The painting captures the essence of Hopper's fascination with city life, not as a place of bustling excitement, but as a setting where individuals navigate their own private worlds, even within a crowd. House by the Railroad. House by the Railroad is a striking painting by Edward Hopper from 1925, capturing one of his central themes, isolation and the desolation of modern life. The artwork depicts a large Victorian house standing alone in a vast, open landscape. A railroad track runs across the foreground, visually cutting the house off from its surroundings and intensifying the sense of solitude. The house itself is a classic example of late 19th century American architecture, with tall windows, ornate gables, and a prominent porch. However, it appears abandoned and lifeless, as if time has passed it by. The windows are dark, showing no signs of habitation, and the stark, shadowless sky contributes to the eerie atmosphere. Hopper's characteristic use of light and shadow enhances the painting's sense of loneliness. The low-angle sunlight casts long, sharp shadows across the house, emphasizing its architectural features. The railroad tracks in the foreground serve as a symbolic barrier, further isolating the building from the rest of the world. While railroads typically represent progress and movement, here they seem to symbolize the opposite, dividing the scene and reinforcing the house's detachment. The painting has inspired many later depictions of solitary houses in art and popular culture. Most notably, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, 1960, draws clear parallels to Hopper's work, with the Bates Motel house bearing a strong resemblance to the one in House by the Railroad. With this painting, Hopper creates a timeless representation of isolation, change, and the passage of time. It reflects the sense of alienation that accompanied the shift from rural to industrial life. The house stands as a silent witness to the past, a symbol of nostalgia, but also of the relentless march of progress. Gas. Gas is a striking painting by Edward Hopper from 1939, depicting a quiet yet melancholic scene at an isolated gas station. The composition is simple yet powerful. A lone gas station attendant in a red jacket stands beside a row of old gas pumps, which stretch slightly to the right, receding into the depth of the image. He appears to be engaged in checking one of the pumps or preparing it for the next use. The gas station itself looks modest and functional, with a small building on the left side, its windows bathed in warm light. This light creates a stark contrast to the cool, dark surroundings. The image conveys a sense of encroaching night. The sky is already darkening, and the road that stretches to the right disappears into the unknown. Hopper masterfully uses the interplay of light and shadow to create a distinctive atmosphere. The gas station is the only light source in the scene, its artificial glow seeming like a final stand against the increasing darkness of the night. The pumps and the building cast long shadows that intensify the solitude of the scene. There are no other people, no cars, no visible movement, only the solitary attendant and the empty road. The road that fades into the dark symbolizes the uncertainty of modern life and the loneliness of individuals in an increasingly mechanized world. The gas station could be seen as the last stop before a long, solitary journey, a place between two worlds, between light and darkness, between civilization and wilderness. With gas, Hopper once again captures the sense of isolation that runs through many of his works. The scene feels almost cinematic, as if it were a brief moment in a larger story. Yet in this apparent ordinariness lies its deeper meaning: the stillness before nightfall, the uncertainty of the coming day, and the relentless motion of modern life in which individuals are often left alone. Cape Cod Morning. Cape Cod Morning is a serene and contemplative painting by Edward Hopper, created in the early 1950s. The scene captures a quiet moment in a sunlit room, embodying the calm and introspective nature of rural life in New England, a recurring theme in Hopper's works. The painting portrays a woman standing near a window in a modest, sparsely furnished room. The sunlight pours in from the left, casting soft, natural light across the room and illuminating her figure. She is dressed simply in a light-colored dress, and her posture is relaxed, though she appears to be in deep thought, looking out the window. This peaceful setting suggests a moment of personal reflection or solitude, indicative of the slower, quieter pace of life in rural America. The room itself is furnished minimally, with only a few essential pieces, perhaps a chair and a table, emphasizing the quiet simplicity of the space. The clean lines and the gentle use of light enhance the contemplative mood of the painting, evoking a sense of stillness and tranquility. The sunlight that filters through the window plays a crucial role in the atmosphere of Cape Cod Morning. It highlights the subtle textures of the room, drawing attention to the quiet beauty of everyday life. The shadows it casts on the walls and floor contrast with the warm light, creating a harmonious balance between light and dark. The softness of the light and the serenity of the scene contrast with the often harsh, urban environments depicted in other works by Hopper. This painting, while focusing on a single figure, encapsulates the essence of rural life in New England, solitary, peaceful, and introspective. It also reflects Hopper's deep understanding of light and space, showing how light can define not only the physical space of a room, but also the emotional atmosphere of the moment. Cape Cod Morning invites the viewer to pause and appreciate the simple, quiet beauty of everyday moments, capturing the stillness and solitude that define rural life away from the hustle and bustle of urban existence. It conveys the feeling of being present in a quiet, intimate space, inviting contemplation and introspection. Hotel Lobby. Hotel Lobby is a fascinating painting by Edward Hopper, created in 1957. It depicts a quiet, almost deserted hotel lobby, capturing the themes of solitude, decay, and the passage of time in a seemingly forgotten space. The scene is filled with a strong sense of stillness and stagnation, which in Hopper's typical style evokes a melancholy feeling and a sense of being overlooked. At the center of the painting is an empty hotel lobby, featuring a sleek reception desk and a few sparse pieces of furniture. The space feels almost monumental in its design, but simultaneously unused and abandoned. The furniture is simple, and the room itself appears old and uninviting. There are no people in the lobby, which further amplifies the feeling of loneliness and isolation. The image suggests a space that seems frozen in time, like a forgotten part of a larger building exposed to decay. The light filling the room is soft and diffuse, contributing to the gentle, almost melancholic atmosphere of the painting. It seems to come from various sources, with sunlight streaming in from outside and indoor lighting creating a calm, even illumination, enveloping the scene in a timeless quality. The color palette of the painting is muted, with many beige tones that wrap the room in a nostalgic ambience. There are no bright, vibrant colors. Instead, quiet and neutral tones set the space in a waiting, almost empty mood. The depiction of the empty reception desk and the dark windows in the background evokes a sense of alienation and abandonment. It could serve as a metaphor for modern, often anonymous life, where the individual lingers in a hotel lobby, passively waiting and without real interaction with the outside world. There is also an ironic element in the portrayal of the hotel. A place that typically brings people together and fosters social connections is here deserted and lifeless. Hopper's hotel lobby is a profound representation of decay, transience, and isolation in a public space. The vacant room mirrors the anonymity and alienation of the modern world, where people are trapped in waiting loops, in a state of stagnation, without truly interacting with one another. It is a thoughtful and melancholic reflection on the passage of time and the neglect often found in seemingly everyday and insignificant places like this hotel lobby. The Long Leg. Edward Hopper's The Long Leg, created around 1935, is an impressive example of his ability to capture light, atmosphere, and subtle emotions in his paintings. The work depicts a solitary sailboat with full white sails gliding through calm, deep blue water. In the background, a flat coastal landscape stretches out, with a lighthouse rising in the distance. The composition is simple, but through clear lines and harmonious color choices, it exudes a powerful presence. Hopper was known for his distinctive way of depicting light, and The Long Leg is no exception. The sky is bright and expansive, the water shimmers in deep blue, while the sandy coastline brings warm, earthy tones into the scene. The lighting suggests a clear midday summer, with the sun high in the sky and the shadows short. Despite the apparent simplicity of the motif, a deep atmosphere emerges that conveys both peace and a certain sense of loneliness, an ongoing theme in Hopper's work. The title of the painting, The Long Leg, comes from the world of sailing and refers to a long stretch that a boat sails with a steady wind. This image of slow, continuous movement fits perfectly with Hopper's artistic narrative. It suggests freedom, but also a sense of distance and isolation. Unlike many of his more famous works that often feature solitary figures in urban or domestic settings, This painting focuses on nature and the vastness of the sea. Yet, the quiet melancholy typical of Hopper's work is still palpable. While the long leg may seem simple at first glance, it holds a deeper symbolic meaning. The sailboat on its long course can be seen as a metaphor for life itself, a journey through space and time, driven by the wind, with an unknown destination. It is this blend of clarity, tranquility, and subtle melancholy that makes the painting so captivating and solidifies it as a remarkable example of Hopper's unique artistry. People in the Sun. People in the Sun, painted by Edward Hopper in 1955, is a remarkable work that captures a moment of relaxation and human connection under the sun. The painting shows a group of people sitting in chairs under a sun umbrella, creating a relaxed and carefree atmosphere. It reflects Hopper's ability to depict everyday scenes in a way that reveals both their surface appearance and their deeper emotional significance. At the center of the composition, several figures are shown sitting comfortably in outdoor chairs, basking in the warm light of the day under a large sun umbrella. The figures' postures seem relaxed, suggesting a sense of peace and enjoyment of the moment. Yet, despite the sunny and seemingly cheerful setting, Hopper's hallmark emotional distance and isolation are still apparent. There is a subtle separation between the figures, with no visible interaction or lively conversation. This constant tension between physical proximity and emotional distance is a central theme in many of Hopper's works. While the figures appear to be connected, the lack of direct communication and the somewhat stiff body language suggests that their relationships remain superficial. Their body positions and the absence of expressive facial features reveal a sense of alienation, pointing to the idea of modern isolation even in the simpler moments of life. Hopper succeeds in creating a scene of relative calm and leisurely time, while also addressing the complexity of human experience in social spaces. The lighting in People in the Sun is crucial to the impact of the painting. The bright sunlight bathes the scene in a warm, almost golden light, sharply highlighting the figures' contours and the textures of the environment. This lighting enhances the feeling of summer and carefreeness, while also hinting at a certain barrenness, as if the light is revealing the underlying emotional emptiness or disconnection. The shadows cast beneath the figures and the umbrella heighten the visual drama and make the figures appear more isolated. The background landscape remains understated, with minimal detail, which draws attention to the figures and their position in the space. The emptiness of the space and the lack of any movement or distractions in the background emphasize the sense that this moment of social interaction and human closeness is perceived, but never fully realized. People in the Sun is a masterful depiction of the ambivalence in modern human relationships. Hopper captures the seemingly simple act of resting under the sun while subtly addressing alienation, the lack of genuine connection, and loneliness amid society. The composition and interplay of light and shadow amplify the emotional nuances of the work, showing how Hopper's art always hid a deeper meaning behind the surface portrayal of everyday scenes.